I can understand why people feel crazy.
Yeah. Like prices are dropping.
Yeah.
I'm seeing these headlines and I'm thinking to myself, really? Where are prices dropping?
Cooling. That's the word, cooling.
Now I'm seeing.
Hey y'all, Katie here with Team Evo AZ. Thank you so much for following us and listening to our podcast. Here is season 3, and we are super excited for this season. As you know, we are based in the Phoenix, Arizona area, servicing buyers and sellers throughout the valley. But what you might not have known is we are expanding nationwide. So if you know of anyone that might be looking to get into the real estate business or needs to buy or sell a property, but it is not in Arizona, we can still help. Please feel free to message us and enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, it's Katie and
Matt.
And we are that real estate couple that talks a lot about real estate in the Phoenix area and a little bit about life.
Or the opposite sometimes.
Where we talk a lot about life, do we?
Yeah,
I suppose. I don't know. Well, hey, everybody, and welcome back, Ryan with Waterstone Mortgage. We are always super happy to share a little bit of time with you.
Yes.
Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us.
Thanks for having me. I always look forward to these talks.
Absolutely. Me too. Well, as you guys know, this is our monthly market update. And you know what, guys, I was thinking, mortgage rates are near historic lows. Price appreciation is at historic highs. Housing inventory is less than half of the normal amount. The time it takes to sell a house is pretty much cut in half. There's twice as many offers on each house than, we've experienced in times past. It's pretty hard to say we're in a normal market.
Yeah, and then you pepper a bunch of fake news and everything else on top of that craziness. And you know what I mean? It's just, I can understand why people feel crazy.
Yeah. Like prices are dropping.
Yeah.
I'm seeing these headlines and I'm thinking to myself, really? Where are prices dropping?
Cooling. That's the word, cooling.
Now I'm seeing people overprice super high here in the Phoenix area and they're not getting it. So they're having to reduce their price, but that doesn't mean prices are dropping.
No, not at all.
That's all he has to say about that.
That's all I have to say is a big fat no. But Ryan, tell us what's happening in your world of mortgage. What do you see and feel right now?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you're talking about that in the media, how some of the data that they report is very misleading, because I'm getting a lot of questions about, forbearance and foreclosures, because that's kind of a hot topic in the media right now is the moratorium ended in August. And some of these forbearances are ending. And when that happens, of course, people are anticipating that foreclosures are going to skyrocket. But some of the data here on the forbearance front, only 3% of all outstanding mortgages that are out there right now actually participated in a forbearance.
Yeah.
And 25% of those people, they are still paying on time. They're not even taking advantage.
Wow. Right. So they signed up to get it in place, but they didn't actually take it.
Exactly. And they actually did a study, and 98% of the people who are actually in the forbearance, they have 10% or more equity in their homes. So they're not going to let these homes go. If anything, they might list the property, and that's good. We need some more inventory, obviously. But also, when you have equity and you want to keep the house, if they don't want to move, there's a lot of options to do modifications with the bank. If there's any kind of real hardship that's longer than this forbearance, and they can maybe lower your rate or extend the term a little bit to help you out. So it's good that there's that much equity. So on top of that, A.DOT data came out with information regarding kind of a bearish outlook is what they're really reporting on the news right now, unfortunately. But what they're saying here is foreclosure starts are up 60%. So that's kind of a big headline. That's kind of what you guys are talking about. You're hearing some of these things.
But 60% of what?
That's correct. That's what
Yeah.
60% compared to last year, which when COVID hit, foreclosures were on complete hold. Right. So it's comparing it with nothing. So what's interesting is when you compare it to pre-pandemic levels, 2019, which was a normal market, it's actually down. It's down 66% from 2019. So when you see these numbers and people are seeing it in the news, it could kind of be scary, but you really got to dig in deeper to the data to get the real story of what's going on.
Absolutely. And then when we're seeing these headlines, it causes fear and paralysis. And so these people aren't doing the things that they should be doing at this time.
Well, and then they're now making this giant financial decision fueled by fear or fear is very much involved. It's clouding their decisions.
Yes.
And it's just not healthy. Now, once again, I don't think any of us agree with sugarcoating things as far as the news goes and reporting the other side of this to make people feel like it's, this market that they, is artificial. But at the same time, I just think this doom and gloom, which we've realized is where they make their money. Make money on bad news, not good news.
That's right.
So I kind of see where that plays inside, but it just sucks because it's really misleading a lot of people, and mostly those people that don't have kind of their finger on the pulse or experience in the marketplace. And that's who we always end up saying that are almost like the targets of predatory lending or predatory markets or whatnot. And this is like kind of the news that feeds that, which sucks.
Yes. So do your research, people. Listen to our monthly market update. The whole truth and nothing but the truth is right here.
We'll give you the facts, all the facts. Yeah. Because there's some good news out there. Like the data came out actually regarding mortgage applications for new purchases. And that actually jumped 7% this month, which is the highest it's been since April. And right after April is when we got into a really hot market. So they don't report that, but that's just kind of showing you how people are ready to maybe jump back into this market right now, that those are starting to pick up after a little bit of a drop over the past few months. And also what's interesting is, you'll see reports about how purchases are down 12% year over year. But when you factor in cash buyers, it's only down 5%. But the big number, when you factor in the fact that purchases are down 5%, inventory is down 12.
Yeah.
You can't buy a house that's not there. So
exactly.
That's obviously where those numbers come in.
Yeah. It's like, what's that? There's no the correlation analogy, and it's like, causation through correlation, and they're totally manipulating that. They're not giving you the actual data, and it's causality. That's what it was. And it's frustrating. It really is. It was funny. I was reading this article, and it was kind of talking about that, where like a lot of news articles are saying, "Oh, cooling." That's kind of the word that they're using. Things
the buzzword.
Cooling. It's not like slowing down or crashing, but things are cooling. And it was a really interesting study on saying, hey, what's our projection ultimately for the end of 2020, and especially going into 2021, and our cooler months in the country because of weather. And one of the biggest things that everyone said, even if you include rates coming into this, is it's going to be very healthy because of inventory. There is no inventory.
Right.
So who ends up really being affected the most on that? It's not so much the buyers, because when you live in colder temperatured cities, buying a home in cold weather is not really that difficult. It's selling a home and buying a home and moving. And so there's going to be a lot of people that are just apprehensive of selling because it's cold, therefore less inventory, not affecting the buyers. So they're just saying, no, there's still going to be an inventory issue, which is going to keep things hot, supply and demand.
It feels like we have a little bit more inventory. We've talked about it in the last couple of months. We've seen it kind of come up in the numbers a little bit. When we're out there showing property, we're feeling like our buyers are maybe have a little bit more traction now. They're getting, having a little bit more opportunity. But I have to tell you, we're only up, but every month I check the single family residences that are active in Maricopa and Pinal County only. We're only up 49 homes from last month.
Wow.
So it's really not a ton. And what we're finding that inventory levels are creeping up, and it's not in the not as hot areas of the city. And then in the super hot areas like Gilbert, forget it, right? And those areas are still very, very low in inventory.
Yeah. I do notice a little bit of, we'll say actually probably a lot less cash offers, because it seems like there's a lot more financed offers that are being entertained, even when we're doing comps and
contingents.
Yeah. So that's beautiful to look at. And I think that's good news. And it's something that should be celebrated, because it's both beneficial to buyers and beneficial to sellers. It's kind of put this reality cap on sellers saying, hey, you can just list your house at whatever and you're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
As Kate was saying, you see that if someone lists their home too high, the market corrects that. It sits, people negotiate, it doesn't sell right off the bat, and it will go for less. If people list their house low, it goes over list. So there's this healthy balance. And I am seeing more conventional and, just once again, financed offers being entertained, which I think is great. That's huge.
We need it because there are more of those people, right, that have to purchase with financing than with cash, right? There are more of those people. And so we need that, I think, to keep things going, because seems like it's always the same people with cash. And in fact, that I get quite a bit. You obviously have your people that come from out of town that did very well in the sale of their home. And so they've got, a bucket of cash that they can dump on a property here. But a lot of times it's these big giant investment pools and REITs and things like that are purchasing and holding.
Mhm.
That's what I'm seeing a lot of, and it seems like it's the same guy every time.
And that's going to be one of our indicators. I think like what you were saying too, Ryan, on like how you were saying, mortgage originations, right? Is that what you're saying? Or what was it? When applications. Yeah.
Yes.
For 7%. The other side of it too is look at your industry in mortgage and how they're expanding on the employee supportive side.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of mortgage companies are not like they're just freezing employee hires. They're actually expanding. They're hiring. They're going into different states. They're very much looking into the next year or so when they're planning this type of growth. So I think there's a lot to be said on that side of it, just not on the rate side of things. So I think there's a lot of health there. And what you were saying with the investment side, that's another really good thing to look at is, you see these companies that are really, really putting their weight on appreciation and their model and how they're able to buy your home at a premium and let you live in your home and do all these things. The second you start seeing those things slightly slowing down or not seeing them marketing as much is usually a good indicator because they're not as confident with the future. So, I think there's a lot of good things that are out there for us to really see that are tangible to say, hey, maybe there is something coming that we should be more worried about as far as fear goes. But I think right now, if you're that homeowner that's in it for longer than 3 years and you're looking to call a place home, you really shouldn't have that fear. You should kind of just, stick to tangible things and really look at what makes most sense in your life and your financial picture.
I totally agree. So keeping current matters, I love that publication. I just want to show you guys something really quick.
Slideshow Sally.
I know I have more slides. I probably won't get to them today, but that's totally all right because we're kind of past that already. But this is an awesome article that I was checking out yesterday or the day before. And the title is Home Appreciation is Skyrocketing in 2021. What about 2022? So people are thinking, I've heard it through the grapevine. Oh, prices are going to come down and they're already started. No, those are just price reductions because people are getting a little too crazy with their prices. If you scroll through, it's a great article, definitely check it out. But if you scroll through, they have this graph of the United States and kind of it's showing the home appreciation that is rising, and it's rising in every region. So this is just happening across the country. It's not in Arizona, in Phoenix specifically, it's all over the place. And in the darker the blue, if you look at the legend here, the darker the blue, the higher the percentage.
All
so
right, we're winning here. All right.
right. Look where we're from. Boom, it's growing.
Oh,
look where we live
too.
Look where we live.
Boom, it's highest.
Higher. My goodness, these people up in New Hampshire and Maine, if they just moved there from the west side, once they hit winter, I don't know, they might be coming back.
No birds.
And that kind of goes in what you were saying too. Like when you look at that reflection on 2021 and where our growth was, and that we're looking at around 20%. Then you look at, what the projections are of 2022. And a lot of people are still saying, hey, we're looking at around, anywhere from 15 to 20%. People are saying, oh, wow, there's a slowdown, that's cooling off. It's really not, because
historically,
20% of a much lower number is still the same as 18% or 15% of a much higher number. So it's still like,
good point. Yeah.
As far as our equity growth goes, and that's what every American's looking at. It's not so much percentages. How much equity did I gain on my house?
Right.
And that's exactly what we're looking at. So I really don't see it as a slowdown at all. If anything, it's just very healthy and it's awesome. And it should just warrant people to kind of do the river dance.
Yeah.
I agree. And for those people that are considering, 2022 as the year that they purchase when the prices go down, I think you're going to be waiting a long time. So it might be a good idea to hop in now, especially while the rates are still where they're at, because I mean, that's
Yeah.
that really affects affordability.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I mean, I could go into it a little bit. The key indicator really with interest rates that we're looking at is inflation right now.
Yeah.
As we had discussed in prior podcasts, when COVID hit, the Federal Reserve, they came in and said, hey, we're going to buy down mortgage-backed securities. We're going to pump some money into this to keep interest rates low, to keep the economy going. And it worked. Obviously, we were seeing, purchases higher than ever because of that. But, that the one bad thing that happens when you start pumping all that money in is inflation. The more money that's out there, the less your dollar is worth. So, something that you buy today is going to be worth or a lot more expensive than it was 2 years ago because of inflation. So because of that, they want to really keep it in check. So that's why they're discussing kind of letting the foot off the gas and not really, buying those mortgage-backed securities and pumping money in anymore to keep inflation in check. But the good news is inflation numbers came out this month, and they're actually lower than what was expected. And what the Federal Reserve is saying, they think it's what's called transitionary, which means that they feel like it's going to naturally go down as the economy kind of picks up steam. So that's good news. So what they feel is in November, when they talk about tapering and not buying as much mortgage-backed securities, they think it's going to be a lot slower of a rollout. So we're not going to see like a big jump in rates when they start artificially, putting their foot off the gas. We feel like it's going to be kind of a slower introduction. And really, when I say, rates are going up, it's not like we're going to see 5% interest rates. We're still going to see historically low rates in the mid threes, just not in the twos like we're at right now. So it's still going to be a very competitive interest rate, historically speaking. Especially, I was talking to my mom the other day, and she mentioned in the 80s when we bought our first house here in Phoenix, it was a 14% interest rate.
Oh, yeah.
So when you think it's going from maybe in the high twos to the mid threes, if you look at the timeline of historically where rates are at, it's still some of the best rates we've seen.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny because I even remember when like you've seen rates jump. I remember there was a period in 2013 when all of a sudden rates jumped like it was like a half a point. Yes. And the Fed bumped it, but then ultimately all these natural ingredients like you speak of from the economy and all this, they slowly like took place within the 30 days after that and brought that rate back down.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like the Fed comes out and speaks, and it's kind of this, gets everyone put in shock, but then like the powers to be kind of bring it to where it needs to be. So I agree. I think it's going to be the same. I also feel like based on like retail that came out, retail is way higher than they anticipated. You know what I mean? So
that was a big jump yesterday.
A big jump. And that's before we even get into the holiday season. So I think a lot of weight that's put on this COVID variant, how it's going to affect people going into the holidays, and then how much of, our economy is pretty much based off fourth quarter, retail, holidays, what consumer confidence is there really depicts what the next year is going to be. And I think it's going to be there. I think it's going to be a hell of a Christmas. I don't know if I can say that, but
you can. It's our podcast.
Okay.
We can say what we want.
I think it's going to be a good Christmas, we'll say. But I do think that all those like little things are going to be there and kind of drive it and keep it to where we need to be.
So bottom line, it's still a good time to buy, people. Or you should. Anyway, if you're planning on doing it, probably now.
At least plan. And if you're going to set forth a plan, do it tangibly. Don't do it on, hey, I'm going to wait for the market to crash, or I'm going to wait for this thing that you just kind of like arbitrarily created in your mind off stuff that doesn't really make sense. Really make sure what this goal is true, and say, hey, yeah, if we're going to do this, this is why we're going to do it. We're not waiting for this thing because you're just fooling yourself and you're going to kick yourself in the ass.
I agree.
Right. Because the people who bought last year, oh my gosh. How about the people who bought 2 years ago? Oh my gosh. And I heard back 2 years ago from some people, I'm going to wait for the market to crash. well, dang, you just gave up 200 grand or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
What's
how's
keeping
the
us busy
weight
right
going
now,
for ya?
we're working with a lot of clients that we actually helped close on a purchase last year. Maybe they put 3 to 5% down, that now they're refinancing with 20% equity and removing their
Yeah.
mortgage insurance.
Boom.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
is.
So yeah,
then-
they're like, wow, I'm really glad I didn't decide to wait.
Yeah.
And they feel so much better. And they're like, thank you, Ryan, for helping us and like saying what's true.
Yeah, for guiding us, showing us
You know,
the way.
and I think there's also a lot of like people in our generation that, you know, we can definitely speak to on this, that, you know, they were kind of products of 2008. They have this fear that's kind of on their foundation of financial knowledge and becoming an adult. And they kind of reach this precipice in values they feel. And they're like, you know what, we're out, we're cashing our chips in, and we're just going to get on the rental sideline, sell our house and just wait and see how things go. And I'm hearing more of that. And I'm going, oh my God, don't do that. Because there's just a lot of them that don't understand that, that house could turn into a rental. You could use that house as a rental and keep doing what you're doing. You could keep it as a rental and go rent if you want.
Right.
They don't think about the tax implications of when they sell the house and how that might bump their income up that year. And now they're going to pay more taxes on that amount. Now they're missing out on interest rates. And like, I really see a lot of our generation potentially taking that almost fear gamble. Like I'm cashing out, and they're going to really kick themselves hard 5 years down the road when they're like, oh, I could have held on to it. I could have rented it. I could have had another 30% equity. Could have had cash flow, retirement plan, a lot of things.
We guide our clients a lot in the whole rental world, and we feel like we are experienced enough to do so, not only because it's our industry, but we do it ourselves. And we've been landlords for, I don't know, 8 years now, something like that. And so we can, you know, give that experience, that personal experience, and really tell them, hey, this is what it's done for us. And I mean, you know, this is a joke in our family. I say every once in a while, wow, I can't believe how much our rental properties could sell for right now. Let's sell them.
And what do I say? Never.
He just laughs and says, oh, you're so cute. But that's, you know, it's a huge impact in our financial life and in our goals for future and that kind of thing. I mean, and I love sharing that information with our clients. And we have a lot of clients that take our advice and they go that route and they're happy.
Well, and it's not like, hey, go and create your whole retirement plan or your future plan based off solely on real estate. We don't do that. Absolutely not. But I do believe that every person should have at least one item or a portion of their retirement and savings and investments in real estate.
Yep.
And if you don't, and you are you already a home that's purchased under owner financing, where you have that great rate, you couldn't replicate it,
and you lived there long enough.
There is the perfect investment. Instead of going and buy your next house and saying, well, honey, let's go buy an investment now and pay investment prices and have to put all this down and investment rates. And so, yeah. Anyways, if you ever guys want to pick or my brain or our brain or talk about that, I like encourage it, because I really, really feel like, especially our generation, a lot of people are missing the buck with fears, with maybe not wanting to be landlords, which I feel like being a landlord is an amazing thing as a human being. It teaches you so much on society, on yourself, dealing with people. It's just, I think the knowledge that comes from it is almost equal to the financial gain. It's crazy. So there, that's it.
I would agree with that. And I do want to piggyback on that a little bit, because this happens a lot. So Matt and I get a lot of messages, just sometimes from out of the blue, from people that we don't know. Hey, we saw the show, or hey, we know about you guys. We know what you do. Can we ask you a couple of questions? And it happens quite frequently. We love it. We encourage it. So please, if you have any questions at all, if you just want to pick our brain, talk to us about something, that is still free at this time till we get more famous.
Bottom line, talk to the experts before you make any decisions.
And Ryan,
Katie and Matt.
Absolutely. And Ryan too. I mean, Ryan, without you, we wouldn't be able to accomplish all the things that we do. So we thank you very much for your time, your expertise, your availability, your responsiveness, all of that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, guys, if you are interested in being a guest on our show, please follow us. Our handle is at Team Evo AZ, and we are on all of your favorite podcast platforms. So especially if you're listening to us there right now, give us a like, give us a follow, download our episode, rate us, because that does help us get the real news out to the real people. And while you're at it, if you're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the things, YouTube, what else? I don't know. So shoot us a message while you're there. We would love to connect with you, and we'd love some feedback from you. What do you think about the show? And then also, if you want to pick our brains, chit chat with us about anything real estate, we are there for you.
In life.
Oh yeah, and life too. Yeah, we can do that too. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks again for having me. Bye, everyone.